Hello and welcome back to the Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and TV Industry. I am your host, Jennifer Lynn Warren. Let's just get started, guys. I have a listener question from Sean Frost. Thank you so much for being such an avid listener, Sean. I always enjoy your questions. So he asks, so I have been advised to, when auditioning, to own the space. Does that mean to simply act like you belong there? Just be yourself in there, since you in fact belong there, since you have an appointment to be there. Well, I think you're close. I think what it really means, what they're saying is it means to see yourself as an equal, to see yourself as just as much as of a professional with the right to be in the room as the casting director and the producer and the director and all the other actors auditioning. It means if you're owning the room, you're not going to be timid like you're an amateur, but you're also not going to be desperate and overly friendly like an amateur. It means to own the space like a true professional. So, guys, you know, Seneca, who's a great philosopher, said, if one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable. Raise your hand out there if you're having a problem with your agent. Well, I can't see you. I'm just going to imagine that a lot of actors tend to raise their hands with that. How about any of you who may have heard the recent struggles with the Writers Guild of America and their agencies, and the fact that the WGA told all of their people to fire their agents? And how many of you have wondered how long would it be until SAG took a look at the relationships with the agents that actors currently have and said, you know, if there's a conflict of interest in which a agent for a writer can also be in the position of being the person hiring them through package deals, when are we going to start looking at the same issue that SAG and SAG actors have with their agents? And there was an interesting article that was put out on Deadline a few days ago. I told you guys, if you do not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable. You got to read the trades and you got to see where the industry is going, because you don't want to be blindsided by anything if you want to be a professional. And, you know, the head of SAG, Gabrielle Contreras, is saying that SAG is reviewing its relationship with agents. And, you know, there was a point where SAG was more involved with, you know, our agents, and then SAG members were kind of like, hey, you can't really get involved. And then SAG was like, you can. And now as a SAG actor, you're supposed to be with a franchised agency, but it's not really something that is that enforced. It's like, it's all a big muddled mess. And I hope I'm explaining it very well. But I found it very interesting that this article came out, because there has to be a lot of actors, myself included, that are looking at especially the bigger agencies. You know, like my agent, it's not really an issue with them. They don't really do package deals. But, you know, the dream is to get signed with one of the top 5 or top 10 agencies that do package deals and can take an idea that you have or a script you have and help get it made. And they will make a lot of money off of that, just the way the Writers Guild was saying that, you know, their agents were making more money than their actors, or their writers, were making. And so this is a problem that's not just with the Writers Guild, but it's pretty systemic in the industry. Now, Gabrielle Contreras is contesting that it's not the same problem, but I think it sounds pretty darn close. And if anybody out there has a better understanding of what I'm saying and they'd love to come on here and kind of debate it with me, I'd love to get more in-depth information. And I don't see SAG telling all of its actors to fire all of their agents anytime soon. I don't think that it's as big of a problem for actors as it is for writers, but it is definitely something to be looking out for. And if you are an actor out there with an agent, and you guys have been talking about package deals, and you have been talking about creating your own content, and you're bringing them in on that, I want you to go back and I want you to look at everything that the Writers Guild is saying is wrong with all of that, and just protect yourself before signing any paperwork and just see where the industry is going and just know what could happen for you and what could happen against you. And I just want you guys to be educated, know what's happening, because everyone's saying, make your own stuff, make your own stuff, make your own stuff. But you've got to make sure you're keeping control of everything as much as you can, and someone's not going to screw you out of a payday that is well deserved for you as a creative just because you got so excited that somebody was willing to jump on board your project. Okay, my actor friends, so if you want to be a film and television actor, why on earth would you ever study theater? Why on earth would you ever study miming or stage movement or anything else that's out there? Why study Shakespeare? It seems like such a waste of time. And the reason why you want to study everything you could possibly get your hands on is, one, the more well-versed you are with everything in life, the better you're going to be at the thing that you want to be at. So the more tools you have in your pocket, the better of an actor you're going to be. And also because a lot of the directors, especially the great ones, and casting directors and producers that you want to work with have also studied as much as they possibly could to get as good as they can with everything they possibly can, get good with. And so if I'm a director and I'm talking to an actor that I'm assuming is a well-trained actor and we're doing comedy, I would assume at some point that this actor, unless you're like a 6-year-old child, but if you're claiming to be a well-trained actor, at some point you would study something like Comedia del Arte. And I'm sure you may have heard of it, but if you don't know what it is, I'll go through the characters really quickly. But I've seen some actors recently kind of like a Comedia del Arte class. Why on earth would I ever take something like that? Well, because you might be in an audition and the director or casting director may say to you in a comedy, audition, this character is more like a zany. And you're like, what the heck is that? And what they mean is if you studied something like Comedia del Arte, which is one of the things, believe it or not, they're going to expect you to know you're an actor, and this is part of an actor's craft to understand, is that they're usually these stupid, incompetent, lower class fools. And we've seen them, and this isn't just like old Italian theater. This stuff has been around since people have begun writing stories. We write the same kind of characters over and over again. We just give them different names and different job titles. Or they might be like, this is more of a Patalone character. And those types of characters tend to speak like in very plain musical dialect. They used to always be portrayed as old merchants, but they're your typical wealthy old man. So if I say to you, it's a comedy and it's a stereotypical wealthy old man, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about because we have seen that character so many times. But, if you want to sound smart, you would know that that's a Pantalone. Or you're the doctor, which is, you don't actually have to be a doctor, but you're that very well-fed, very learned, book smart, obnoxious guy or gal these days who just knows too much. Or maybe you're the Harley Quinn, which is usually a very faithful servant or faithful best friend, but they're always falling in love and they're always getting into trouble and they're always employing these crazy techniques to get whatever that they want. And they tend to be kind of absent-minded. And most of our modern love comedies are based around a Harley Quinn type character. Or you have the Pulcinella, which is like a charlatan. They're lazy. They're not to be trusted, right? Or the Columbina. They're like the mischievous maids, and they're not always virtuous. It's like that woman that's willing to use sex to get what she wants, or she's always kind of like the gossip, right? Or maybe you're the captain, which means you are God's gift to woman. You're always bragging and you're usually getting pranked on a lot of times in comedy. Not always, but a lot of times that, the captain is his ego is so big that it's kind of fun to knock them down a couple pages. Or you're the Brugella, which is another more of a servant type or best friend type character who's a prankster, but they're like crazy loyal to their masters and they're willing to do like anything for them, or they're willing to do anything for their boss, or they're willing to do anything for like their parent or whoever it is. And all of these should sound familiar because we see these tropes and we see these characters over and over and over and over again in comedy. So if you're having trouble grasping a character and it's a comedic character, go back to the classics. Go back and study Comedia del Arte. Go back and study, because the human language, what we are as actors, is we speak the language of humanity. And we've been speaking, it's not a new language, guys. We've been speaking this since we started telling stories around the campfire. We're not creating anything new. The techniques and the characters that we play are as old as our ability to actually speak. So it is not something that is brand new in 2019 that you're like, oh, I'm going to play the stupid, incompetent, lower class fool. How many stupid, incompetent, lower class fools can you think of that are on TV right now? Because there have been millions and millions and millions throughout history that have written that character. So go back, study the classics if you guys are feeling stuck, or if you want to be on set and you never want to feel stupid, if you're talking to a director who's a bit of a like doctor type themselves, they like to show off all of the stuff that they know. And sometimes you'll come across a director who wants to impress an actor and they want them to be like, hey, look at all this stuff that I know about acting, by being like, hi, so you're going to be more of like a Harley Quinn character. And they don't mean Batman, right? They do not mean Batman, though. Even though Harley Quinn seems to always be falling in love and getting into trouble, it kind of is like the Harley Quinn for Batman, but maybe a little less crazy and a little more absent-minded. So that's it for today, guys. I hope I've convinced you to own the room. I hope I've convinced you to keep reading the trade, and I hope you've now been convinced to take classes and everything that you can get your hands on, because you have no idea when something's going to come in handy for you as an actor in your career. So that's it for now. Follow me on Hollywood Actors Guide on the Instagram. I'm going to go ahead and post that deadline article I just told you about on our Facebook page, Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and TV Industry. So break a leg out there, guys, and remember, you are not alone.